guys. Happy Wine Wednesday. Woohoo! It is 5 o'clock here, Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Welcome. It's Carl's Wine Club Happy Hour. And guess what? It's Iceller Week. And we're also live on Iceller Facebook page. Good evening, Mira Boucher. How are you doing?
Great, Carl Boucher. Great. How are you doing?
Oh, great. You know, when I have a lineup just like this, we usually say in front of me, but now it's behind me. How can I not doing freaking amazing? I said, like, we've been tasting these wines over and over again all week long to see the evolution. And it's just been an absolute gem to do that. What do you think?
That's right. I mean, one of the things we've learned, one thing I learned from Sandra Oldfield, right? An amazing winemaker in the early days of the Okanagan wine industry, right? So she came on our show a while back and she said, if you need to age a wine, if you're planning to drink it and it's not quite ready and you need to age it a little bit, stick it in the back of your car for a couple of weeks and the vibrations from moving around in your car will advance it a little bit. And so she did that before a competition once because she wanted the wine to be at a slightly different place and it enhanced the flavors. So what we do, it's even faster, is we taste it like on the first day and then the second day and the third day and the fourth day and sometimes even like eighth day. So it kind of gives you a preview how well the wine will
age. Yeah, exactly. And guess what? I learned another trick yesterday. I didn't tell you that yet. So I was, listen to that. You need to listen to that. It's an amazing. I was with Richard De Silva at De Silva Winery. And Richard and I talking while we're tasting his brand new bottling of Legado Chardonnay 2021. Absolutely amazing wines. And he said, and I said, I wonder how that wine will age. He said, give me one freaking second. He poured that in smarter glasses and he went to stick it in the microwave. He sticked it in the microwave for 8 seconds. I said, what the heck are you doing? He said, you've never heard about that trick, young man? I'm like, what do you mean? He said, long time ago, an old school guy taught me that trick. So, but if you think about that, what a microwave does, the waves are going to the structure of things, splitting the molecules to get some stuff in between, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So we had a good kick.
I mean, a little slightly bit warmer.
Slightly bit warmer, but after we had an extra touch of really cold one, it kind of balanced it out. And
gosh, that's wild. So there you go, right off the bat. 3 tips: what to do if your wine is not aged enough and you want to drink it early.
And you know what? I have another one. You just use the Enovino. It's $40. It's a $40 trick. It lasts for a lifetime, and it's it's safer, and I think it's a little bit more scientifically proven, just to my opinion. But it's always great to see these old school people giving you tricks and tips like that. So let's get back to what we're talking about. It's the House of Red. It is Iceller Week. So we're talking about big, bold red, big, bold wine across the board, even whites, even rosé. This is the style of what Adnan Icel, owner, winemaker, vigneron, self-taught everything in the world. Adnan, this is his style of wine. This is his style of wine. He loves oak barrel. He uses oak barrel on every of his wine. He doesn't apologize for it because that's what he goes after. This is his style, and he does it better than anyone else in the country. So we've been drinking some pretty big, bold wine all week long, and we also we invited a bunch of people on Sunday night at home just to we wanted some of the BC winemakers' opinion on the wines, and we turned some heads. Right, some people were like, "Holy moly!"
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Pretty
I'm
amazing.
excited because I believe that we're going to have Adnan joining us in a few minute times for a pretty
Yes.
cool interview, because Adnan is working on some stuff right now in Niagara on the Lake that is going to be the first ever in the country to be doing. So I'm really excited to talk about that. I'm excited to talk about Cabernet Sauvignon, about red blends, about Merlot. I'm excited to talk about barrel-aged rosé and his whole portfolio. So it's going to be a blast. But before we get into the whole interview with Adnan and Adnan joining us, I want to welcome and I want to say hi to all of the Iceller fan here who are joining on the Iceller page. So it's great to have you on. Hopefully you're going to enjoy the show. We do that every Wednesday. It's our Wednesday wine happy hour. So welcome to the College Wine Club's world. I would like to say a few things in French because we're broadcasting across the country to all of our people in the French regions of Canada. So un beau bonjour à tout le monde en français, à toute notre gang du Québec, de la ville de Québec, Jean-Denis, Pierre Nollet, ma mère, maman, un beau bonsoir. Un beau bonsoir à tous les gens de Trois-Rivières, Denis Perrin puis sa gang aussi, des gens du Nouveau-Brunswick, de la Nouvelle-Écosse, les régions francophones de l'Ontario. On souhaite un beau bonjour à tout le monde. Les gens des prairies en français, peu importe où c'est que vous êtes, on vous souhaite un bonsoir. Cette semaine, on parle de Icellars. Icellars, laissez-vous pas tromper ou changer d'idée de qu'est-ce que ça veut dire. Icellars, ça veut rien, c'est rien à propos de ice wine. C'est juste un play sur le nom de famille du propriétaire. Icel, Adnan Icel, Iceller. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui pensent souvent qu'ils font du vin de glace, ice wine. Non, c'est complètement... c'est juste un play sur son nom de famille. Ils font des vins encore, des vins gras, des vins puissants, des vins qui sont profonds, qui ont un potentiel de vieillissement incroyable. C'est tous des vins qui peuvent âger pendant au moins une décennie. On parle de 10, 12, 15 ans sans problème. Donc, des vins puissants, des vins boisés, mais des vins que souvent changent la perception des gens, que si les gens pensent que le Niagara, la baie du Niagara ne peuvent pas faire de gros vins encore, que c'est seulement des vins de Californie qui peuvent être comme ça, c'est la preuve que certains vignobles du Niagara peuvent accomplir le fait de faire des vins encore et des vins de puissance. Donc, on vous souhaite un beau bonjour en français. On va parler aussi de leur Syrah. La Syrah de Adnan, la Syrah de Icellars, le nouveau vintage 2020, c'est une des meilleures Syrahs, sinon la meilleure Syrah de l'Ontario que j'ai goûtée depuis le début de ma carrière de dégustateur. Un vin d'une puissance incroyable, d'une fraîcheur absolument fantastique. Donc, le 2020, le Wismer Park Vineyard Syrah est un vin exceptionnel. Je lui ai donné 95 points plus, donc près de 96 points du vintage de l'année, du millésime 2020. Adnan était un des premiers. Si vous pouvez voir ici sur l'étiquette, il y a une petite écriture en argent autour du 2020, juste ici. Je ne sais pas si on peut le voir. Ça dit Vintage of the Century. C'est le millésime, le meilleur millésime que l'Ontario a vu depuis le début du millésime, depuis le début du siècle, depuis 2000. Les vins, c'était une année chaude, une année longue. La vendange a été effectuée très tard. Donc, tous les vins, tous les cépages qui ont besoin de plus de maturité tardive, ça a été un résultat incroyable. Parce que c'est ça que Icellars ils font. Ils ont 40 hectares de Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec et Cabernet Franc. Donc, ils focusent sur les Bordeaux variétales, les raisins de Bordeaux. Donc, le résultat a été absolument fantastique. La Syrah que j'ai goûtée du 2020, fantastique. OK? Donc, ça, c'est mes mots en français. Aussi, regardez le Arena 2020 versus le Arena 2019. Deux vins complètement différents, mais fantastiques. On va aussi parler de rosés. Les rosés qui ont été âgés en barrique, du Cabernet Franc en barrique, en rosé. Fantastique. Un vin d'un style complètement unique. Here you go. That was my spiel in French. A little longer than usual, all right?
Yeah, great job. Actually, Mike says that the auto-generated captions were doing a great job for him. So
there you go. I'm glad that we have that. Did you have a chance to try what's in your glass?
Well, is this what I think it is?
Absolutely. This is the special medicine. This is your special medicine.
Okay, so I have to tell you guys a story, and Adnan just got in the green room, so he's going to hear this, and then we'll introduce him. The other night, we had some friends over, and we were tasting the Icellars wines because we're featuring them this week, and they were amazing. And you know what? We said, let's open the Reserve Cab Sauv. Actually, we had opened it before because we did, we were tasting all of them, doing tasting notes. Anyways, so I had just woken up from a nap right before our friends came over. Okay. This is what happens when you have 3 kids. You have to go for a little nap. Okay. And I don't know how I got up. I don't know what, but I was having these like stomach cramps and indigestion. And I just felt really like tired.
Okay. Listen, guys, I'm going to translate. She woke up in a pissy mood. She woke up, in a pissy mood. I was like, holy fuck, that's going to be a long night. And so we're starting to joke. So now go ahead.
So then they said, Mira, do you want to try some of this? Which is, guys, we've been looking forward to tasting this for a while. It's the Reserve Cab Sauv from the 2020 vintage, which Adnan Icel actually was the first winemaker that I know of that said, hey guys, while it was happening, he said, this might just be the vintage of the century. And it was 2020. So we have been looking forward to trying the reds from that vintage forever. Anyways, I took one sip and I kid you not, as I swallowed, all my problems went away. Seriously, it was one of those moments I was like, wow, I love this wine. And I felt so much better. And there's about 8 people that witnessed this transformation.
Yeah,
okay?
it was live, a completely live phenomenon. We're like, what the heck just happened here? And like the happy Mira came back, and like we had an amazing night. And before they left, all the guests were like, Carl, never forget that. What Mira needs is she feels pissy. It's a sip of Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon from Icellars 2020 vintage. So that's the joke. And guess what? It happened again on Monday night. Monday night, Mira was tired. We had a long day, and guess what? I went in the back and I poured her like an ounce and a half of Reserve Cabernet. I give it to her, and I kid you not, in a sum of 5 minutes, Mira was like whoop whoop whoop, and like happy and joking with the kids. I'm like, this is true. This is kind of a magic potion. Holy moly! So I made a different usage of that all week long. I tried a little bit every day to see the evolution of that wine, because this is a big, bold, a monstrous structure. Like this wine is made to age for 2 decades, for God's sake. So I analyzed that wine on a daily basis to see its evolution. So it was a really neat experience.
Yeah. So, hey, without further ado, let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend who made this wine and the other 8 wines that we're featuring this week. And let's find out from him his own words, why he said 2020 is the vintage of the century.
There you go.
But I am curious how he came up with that before everyone else. So Adnan Icel, winemaker and founder at Icellars Estate Winery in Niagara. Adnan, you are on mute still, but it's great to see you, and we're so excited to chat with you.
Good evening, boss. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I'm home, and I'm probably having the same wine with you. the reserve capsule.
Yay.
I just ate my dinner. Yeah, we have been working late at this time, but we're home. It's almost Lulu's sleep time coming.
Okay, so if you don't know, Lulu is the winery dog. Okay.
Yes, that's Lulu. There you go. Absolutely amazing. This is baby Lulu from last summer.
Yeah.
I have to say, my kids knows the winery from the winery dogs. Iceller doesn't exist for them. It's Lulu's winery. Okay, so
That,
yeah.
that is correct because before Lulu, maybe you remember Simba. Everybody remembers Simba's name, but none of our names. Now everybody coming to the winery is asking for Lulu, but she's only working 5 days a week at the winery. She's taking 2 days off. And she just turned 1 year old, and she was some kind of like fast start to the job that she's offered. So March 2022, we lost Simba a little bit unexpected to a cancer. He was not even 10 years old. So we could stay only 1 month without a dog. Like our nights was so empty, nothing to talk about, nothing to pet. And one night, Elif found a breeder in close to us in Milton, and we went there next day. And this time, Lulu is Simba was a darker golden, Simba is a lighter golden, and Lulu is a girl this time. And there was a girl and a boy. We chose Lulu. And now she's filling all of our life, like 90% of our lives. And she was at the winery today.
There you go.
And she's when we got her home next day, she started to commute winery. Like in the first 3 days of her life with us, she made 600 kilometers in just 3 days. But now she get used to because we're driving from Oakville to Niagara on the Lake still, like 90 kilometers each way every day.
So Adnan, tell me, I think that you're the one who works 7 days a week. Elif is working 6 days a week, and Lulu's working 5 days a week, correct?
Yeah, sometimes I take days off, but like the season is just starting. We're almost done with the pruning in the vineyard. We have a pretty good sized vineyard now. We farm about 47 acres of our own estate vineyard.
Mostly which kind of grape, Adnan? What's the split? Merlot first or Cabernet more? What's the split of your farm?
Yeah, the general split is 90% red grapes, 10% white grapes, and out of like the biggest planting is Capso, Cabernet Sauvignon. It's about 40% of the whole vineyard. That's our to-go or focus grape, I should say. And we have about 22 acres of Cabernet Sauvignon. And the second most planted is, like you said, Merlot. The third most planted is Syrah. The fourth is Malbec. We have about 4.5 acres of Malbec. That we were expecting the first crop of Malbec last year, but we were hit by winter kill. We didn't get lots of Malbec last year, but everything, finger crossed, this year is going very good. So we're going to make some single Malbecs.
Whoa, that's a nice hint to have. There you go. That I'm not gonna forget that one.
Yeah,
Single Malbec. There you go.
Probably, if everything goes well with the spring frost, if we don't see that, you're going to see 2023 single Malbecs, Icel Vineyard, and they will be certified organic also, because this year we just got our certification from EcoCert Canada. So all of our 2023 wines from the estate, which is total 60 acres, will be certified, not just the vineyard, also the wines. Because this wine organic certification, you could stop at vineyard certification, and you can make your wines in the cellar with the regular sulfur additions and everything. But your wines cannot bear organic wine on the label. But we went all the way, and our wines will be certified organic, which is limiting lots of things also in the cellar. Which is where we knew that, and we are.
It's not a surprise, right? That was the whole goal from the very beginning. Yeah. You knew the whole thing. How long did it take to get the full certification, Adnan?
So for us, actually, when we purchased the land in 2010, we could start right away with organic farming because you need 3 years of history that you need to show them you haven't used any chemicals, forbidden chemicals, any like herbicides, pesticides, or those kinds of things. Or we started conventional farming, but it was very close to organic farming. We were not using any herbicides to kill weeds. We just need to change a few sprays which are accepted by EcoCert, and we start in 2020, and it takes 36 months of reporting to them. So now we are in the third year and final year. So starting September of this year, anything that we picked and we make in the cellar will be certified organic.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And there's not a whole lot of winery in the country that they have their whole certification.
As far as I know, it's more common in BC, Okanagan.
Yeah.
Because of like maybe they are more committed to organic farming, or maybe it may be because of our climate is a little bit more trickier than them. You have,
and I think because of your humidity, humidity brings some fungus. That's what needs to be eliminated to not lose, so to don't get the rot too much in the vineyard. And also, I think the size of your farms are much bigger than the one in BC. In BC, we see 5, 6, 7 acres. In Niagara, especially Niagara on the lake, it's pretty rare to find a farm smaller than 20 acres, correct?
Yep, that's almost the size. We are a very small family winery. We farm 60 acres. And I know some grape growers, not a winery, which a family farms 600 acres in Niagara on the lake.
That's the size of the BC wine industry.
Maybe the lands are still approachable on the price-wise per acre in Ontario. So we could purchase a little bit larger tracts, and also to get a winery license, you have to have minimum acreage of land. I'm not sure it's about 40 acres.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely bang on with the 40 acres. Yeah. And then there's a few other things but before that, usually the people who are sitting in your chair that we're talking about their wineries, usually they went to winemaking school, they went to Brock University, they're a second or third generation of winery owner, they grew up at the vineyard and this and that. You have a slightly different story. Your story is just a little bit different than most of the winery owner in Ontario. Please, I would like you to, in a short 3-4 minutes, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Because I don't think there's nothing to do with winemaking.
Yeah. We are an immigrant family. Not so recent, 15, 16 years ago, we immigrated from Turkey to Canada, and I'm originally a mechanical engineer. I own and operated engineering company. I still do that. I still have an engineering company that feeds us on the side. To tell you shortly, we wanted to go into farming, and that ended up in vineyard farming. And we wanted to start from scratch, like not a planted vineyard, not a built winery. We wanted to start right from zero point. We purchased the land, and there was no farming, no vineyard in the land for 30 years before us. And I did not have any knowledge about wine.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
Did not hear about Cabernet Sauvignon or Chardonnay. I was drinking wine, but when I go to restaurants at that time, I order, bring me red wine or white wine. That was the case. And so I didn't go to any school. There was no winemaking in our family. So I started reading books, making wine from purchased grapes in my basement.
Just to practice.
Yep, just to practice. I wish I could go to a winemaking school, but I'm lucky because I work with exceptional wine consultants. The first one is that maybe I told you before is Ross Wise, Master of Wine, Ross Wise.
Absolutely. I just drove by his winery this afternoon. I was right by Black Hills this afternoon. Ross is fantastic.
We worked with Ross 3 years, in the first 3 years, and he taught me a lot about winemaking. And now for the last 6 years, I am working with Anne Sperling and Peter Gamble, husband and wife team that lives just up the road from us. And they are industry veterans. I am squeezing all of their knowledge about as far as consultant winemakers actually don't work, like they come and taste the wines, especially during fermentations, aging. Oh, this is lacking that, let's stop pump overs. So they guide you throughout the year about most of the taste of the wine. Also, they have deep knowledge in farming also. And, in going organic, and Sperling has a big impact because she was the winemaker of Southbrook Vineyards, which is a certified organic. I think the first certified organic winery in Ontario. So she was pushing us into that direction, and so I owe them a lot. So the mentors, and I was lucky to meet the right people in the beginning, and so that's how we started this.
Thank you. Sorry. Oh, I was just enjoying the evolution of that wine. And maybe you were listening to us. We were telling the story. This has been open since Sunday afternoon, and I've been tasting it a little bit every day to see the evolution. And now it's Wednesday night, so it's been open for almost 5 days, and it's still, the structure is still very powerful. The wine, the fruit haven't faded yet.
Yeah. So this is reserve capsule, right? We are tasting reserve.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we opened this bottle on Saturday, a day before you. And I have been tasting like you every day because that was a trick that I learned from Peter Gamble. And he also mentioned about the microwaving the wine. I never done that.
I've done it the first time yesterday.
Oh, no, he has been doing, but I have been following his suggestion of opening the wine and tasting over 10 days. So before, like 2 months ago, I tasted this same wine on a 10 night. Every night I poured a little bit. And I was shocked to see even on the eighth night, it was tasting amazing. On the ninth and 10th nights, it was going down, but it's normal, right?
Oh.
Yeah. And I learned that this is giving you idea of ageability of wine, like longer holding wine ages longer. So every day equals to like a year or 2 years, roughly.
Yeah.
So that constitutes.
And that's funny you're mentioning that, because in my prelude, in the opening of the show, I mentioned that this wine, I believe, that can last for 2 decades. So if you had it open for 10 days and it almost made it to day 10, my math are not too bad. I'm telling you, like, I'm pretty close to 2 decades of aging potential. The structure is incredible. We're going to come back to specifically to this wine in a few minutes, but I would like to touch first and foremost, you were one of the first. And I remember being with you at the winery. We had a great tasting with Marcel Morgenstern when you hosted me for the first time. And it was in 2021. And you mentioned me, you said, Carl, 2020, because I asked you a question about the previous vintage, and you said, Carl, 2020 will be the vintage of the century. Mark my words. And I did mark your words. And I heard the year after, or early last year, that people were talking the best vintage, some of the best vintage ever. They were comparing with the 2016, 2012, and all of these great vintage of Ontario. And vintage of the century stuck with the public perception, stuck with the people of the industry. And when did you realize that vintage will be so very special?
Yeah, that was about the time that in 2020, I can describe that year with just 2 words: hot and dry. Like, and the red wines, especially in our climate, Ontario, which we need lots of heat and no rain, I should say. It happens only a few years out of every 10 years or so. I'm not an old winemaker here. I knew like 2012 was a really good year. 2016 was another good year, but I tasted many of the like early, like 2002, 2004, 2005s, and when I was walking in the vineyard, like end of August, when the variation finished, the color changed, and the grapes, everything was like the grass on the ground, brown. We rarely see, like in Okanagan, maybe all summer is like brown, yellow, because there is no rain. But it's very rare in Ontario. Generally, we have every other week some rain coming. But we didn't have, especially in our vineyard, did not have any rain for 3 months, like June, July, August, and our soil is heavy clay, so I could see big cracks on the soil. That if you put your arm, you could go all the way into the cracks. I've never seen that before.
Wow.
That gave us something very unique. The wine suffered. Like, we don't have an irrigation system in the vineyard, so wine suffered, and the berry size was half of the regular size.
Very, very tiny, right? So more ratio, more skin juice ratio,
Yeah, that's
more powerful flavors, correct? Just for people, just to give people an idea. So that's what you want. You are looking, but you can't make that happen yourself. You need everything from Mother Nature to get to this.
Yeah, that's correct. Because we did not intervene with irrigation or anything. Even the shoot growth of the vines stopped in the second wire, did not reach the top wire. And I was feeling wines, the plants were struggling, and they were creating tiny berries in a very small clusters. For example, our regular Pinot Noir cluster weighs about 110 grams per cluster. That year it was 60 grams or so.
Oh my God.
Half. Capsules were like half, like instead of 200 or 100 grams per bunch. So and when you taste the grapes, like incredibly high sugars, incredible colors, like because of the small size. And in September of 2020, when we start measuring the sugars, the acids, and like all the pre-harvest measurements, so we noticed that in October we already hit 24 bricks, which is final. And when we picked our grapes, like Syrah, that is not our vineyard, but Wismar, similar. It came in 27.3 bricks.
Oh my God.
Our capsule is like 27 plus bricks. That was super high. But when I was pumping over the tank, the color I'm seeing, and in a week into the fermentation, is almost black. Like I never seen a dark color of red wine before like that. And we did something also very unusual. We calculated if we start with 27 bricks sugar, so what will be the potential alcohol? So we calculate it will be 15.8, 15.9%, which we thought it's maybe too much. So with Peter Gamble's suggestion, on top of the fermentation tanks, we put big fans. So if you put the fans, you blew some of the alcohol during fermentation. So we managed to bring those two wines, Syrah and Capso, to final alcohol of 15.3. So the label writes 14.9, but VQA does not allow us to write more than 14.9 on the label. So we cannot write 15.3. So the actual real alcohol is 15.3 on these wines. Is like super ripe. But like I said, the color is
it's incredible. It's incredible. And that's transparency here. And that's funny because I was tasting the Cabernet, the Capsule, the Reserve with a winemaker here from BC. And that's what he mentioned. He's like, well, I will bet a little bit more on the 15.2, 15.3 on the alcohol level. So Rob was bang on. But one thing though, sometimes 15.3, 15.5% alcohol makes heavy wine, but there's a freshness in these wines. That's the key to mention, and especially in the Syrah. I found that it's in my tasting notes that there's an incredible freshness in the mid palate, where the high alcohol comes, you don't feel the heavy alcohol on it.
No, I think it's the beauty of making wine in our cooler region. So I think I read in one winemaking book that as the climate gets cooler, if you have enough ripeness in the fruit, you have finer wines. I don't want to compare to Napa or Australia. They have big heat units, and they are picking their Cabernets in Napa in like early or mid-September, and with maybe higher sugar than us. But I always note the beauty of our climate, the phenolic ripeness, the taste, the flavors is almost the same time with sugar ripeness, like very late in the season. And for example, we picked this Cabernet Sauvignon November 18 of 2020, which is early harvest for us because we had all the ripeness and
you had everything you needed.
Yeah, why we wait? The previous year, 2019 Capso harvest was December 7th. Like compare that to that, because that year wasn't high sugars. The ripeness was like we waited, and December 7th we picked the grapes finally. Yeah, so I was shocked to see the grapes in the vineyard and the fermentation tanks, and that's the year that maybe it's too big words, like, and I was criticized by some people that don't use that word, but I always want to remind that's the first 20 years of this century. It does not include, for example, this year. Like the years, maybe this year we're going to have a better year, and we're changed that to vintage of century that year, but until the first 20 years of like Ontario wines, I think this is the best for me. Like it's
you know what, we've been tasting more and more of the 2020 coming out now, and definitely boldness, richness, density, complexity, all of these terminology, you can put them all, like, for a experienced winemaker who follows the right technique and work with respect with the land and what they have produced some wonderful red from the 2020. I totally agree with you. And tasting the new one tasting the Arena 2020, tasting the Syrah was fantastic. And now I have the Reserve Cabernet here. These are definitely an example of the potential of the 2020. Yeah. So I agree with you. And that was a point I really wanted to pick your brain about what made it so special. Thank you for that. I want to get back to the Syrah a little bit, because the grapes are coming from a very famous family in the grape growing viticulturists in Ontario, the Wismer family. So how did that happen that you got some Syrah? Because I think they're the one who grow some of the finest Syrah grape in the region. So how did it happen that you connected with the Wismer family?
So I did not have Syrah planted in my vineyard because I was so afraid. We had a next door winery which planted Syrah, and I was watching every year they were replanting half of the Syrah vineyard because of they are not winter resistant. Syrah is very, very cold sensitive variety here. So Wismer family managed our vineyard before we took over in 2020 for about 5-6 years, and I had access to his best vineyards and his best blocks. They are three brothers, excellent people, excellent growers, and they have their own 150 acres, I guess. And they also manage some good vineyards for customers. So they were managing my vineyard at that time, and I was buying some grapes from them. But starting in 2019, we planted our own Syrah, 6 acres of Syrah. Probably the next Syrah coming from Icellars will be all estate. and I'm hoping we're going to have a better, riper Syrah, because I also planted 5 rows of Viognier.
A little Northern Rhone co-fermentation here.
Exactly, that's the idea. So I'm hoping this is 100% Syrah, no other grapes in that. So my Syrah may have like 3, 4, 5% of Viognier in it, co-fermented. So looking to have a decent crop of both grapes this year. So it will be an estate vineyard. So their vineyard, this specific vineyard, Park Vineyard, is on a 20-mile bench.
Also, it's on the escarpment.
Escarpment, yeah.
Okay.
It's Victoria is right off Victoria Avenue, just before climbing to the bench. It's on the it's not on the top of the bench, but it's like mid height somewhere. And you should see that because that vineyard is a very small block Syrah, and when we picked these grapes, almost 40% of the vineyard was dead, like because of years of winter kill.
Oh my God, eh?
Yeah. So we picked almost like
one by one grape here, one grape there. It reminds me when we were picking blueberries when I was young up north Quebec, like one year and 1 year.
When you have a special product, it's always scarce. Like if we have this like 500 cases of this Syrah, I would be so happy. But only 120 cases of this, which is only 5 barrels worth of wine. Yeah, so like good things is always scarce.
Yes, and I have to say, for people who are listening, I gave it a 95 plus points, so just on the fringe of 96 points. It's less than 2% of the score, like less of the 2% of the wine that I scored in the last 3 weeks got to that number. This is my early candidate for the wine of the year, definitely. An incredible texture, an incredible richness, but there's elegance in that wine, in a beautiful freshness, a purity of like blueberry, a little grill smoke, everything that could expect from a Syrah, but the density and the layer and the depth of that wine. Oh my God, I talk about it and I can't, the taste come back in my mouth. It's just, I was so incredibly impressed. Mira, I know that Mira had
so with that Syrah, Carl had to go out of town was it last week? Yeah.
Last week, I had to be in Montreal for 4 days.
We had just opened that Syrah. He tasted it. We recorded that live late in the night, and so we couldn't have more of it. And the next day, Carl was gone. I hardly ever have a glass of wine when he's not here. It's more of a social thing, for us. But I couldn't help myself with that Syrah. I polished off that bottle. It was so good. And I love Syrah. It's probably one of my favorite varietals. And this was outstanding.
Yeah. Syrah is like you said, Syrah is very cold sensitive, and 2022 vintage. Maybe you heard that we had a bad winter and the crop was almost like non-existent. And I just checked. We have 17,000 acres of vineyard in Ontario right now. And last year, according to Grape Growers Ontario, we got only 319 tons of Syrah grapes. Like 319 is nothing.
Wow.
So
it's a spit in the bucket. It's just such a small,
And the Syrah has been always the most expensive grape. If you are a winery, if you are purchasing grapes from growers, Syrah is always the most expensive grape to purchase because of like these problems. But if you get hands on, so you could make excellent wines from that. Yeah, so we're hoping that our 6 acres of estate Syrah will survive the winters. We
Yeah.
were hoping for some climate change or global warming, though, so we don't see winters less than minus 15, 16 degrees Celsius. But the previous winter, we dialed minus 23. So yeah, it's
That's the danger zone, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. And before we go to the very big point I want to talk to you, it's the net zero energy. I want to touch base on one more wine, and it's the Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon Rosé, the barrel aged Cabernet Franc Rosé. I had so much fun tasting that wine, and this is another one who's very rare. That's something that you can't find anywhere. You have to go to the tasting room to taste, to have it. I was fascinated by the mix, the blend of right acidity, beautiful texture, and how food friendly this wine, and the potential of aging of that wine. This wine has so much to be appreciated. Where's the idea come from? Because we rarely see barrel aged rosé.
Yeah, that was so in our tasting room, either Elif, my wife, or I join the guests and mention about that, how we make our wines, and I always say everything is barrel aged here except rosé. So I was always saying that. Now I wanted to change that, and so everything is barrel aged here, including rosé. So, so we made this rosé from our estate, premium estate grapes. In I think in April of 2022, we bottled bulk of it, like 80% of this rosé. This is the blue cap is the barrel aged. The white cap, which is sold in our online store, is stainless steel only, and we bottled that in spring. And at that time, we had some empty French oak barrels that was neutral, like not giving any oak flavors. So we thought, let's fill 2 barrels and let's keep the wine in barrels for a couple of more months, and let's see the result. If we like that, it started like an experiment for us, and so after 4 months of barrel aging that wine, and it didn't go through malolactic, so no malolactic on it. Everything is same except the barrel aging, and we bottled this in September of that year, and it's not advertised. It's not if you come and you may see at the winery. It's not on the online store. It's not sold to any restaurants or anything. So I wanted to offer to your distinctive wine club members this rare wine.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and this is such an intriguing wine that, to me, it's just when you bring it to the table, there's so much thing that you can do with that wine on the dinner table. It's just have a beautiful food pairing potential. It was fantastic. Yeah, I really, really liked it. I give it a 91 points. Very unique, very rare. So it was an absolute fun to work with that. I know that Mira really, really enjoyed it too.
Yes.
Before I jump to the bulk of what I want to talk about, I haven't rated the Reserve Cabernet yet. I was waiting a little bit, because when I opened it on Sunday, it was just too big and I did just pop and pour. I didn't decant it, and I was like, okay, that need to sit. I need to review it a little bit more every day to have a perfect idea of where it's going to lead me. Now I'm having a great understanding, a much better understanding. First, my wife always get a permanent smile for the rest of the day when she got a sip of it. So a lot of bonus points for that. Second, aging potential is absolutely off the chart. But now I'm discovering the finesse in that wine. It's not only a big, bold, monstrous wine where it's all about the body, more body, more body. There's some finesse in that wine when you dig deeper inside. I truly, truly enjoying more and more the spice. There's a beautiful spicy finish in that. There's also a great tobacco. Like there's a tobacco, chewy tobacco, cedar, a little bit of licorice in there. There's so many layers of complexity. In terms of fruit, what I get, it's the very classic blackberry, black currant. It's black fruit across the board. I'm not going to lie to you. There's no raspberry, strawberry. No. We are on black fruit, dark fruit, and this is what it is. And this is a 95 points to me. Oh. So congratulations. Even at that price point, I always put the price point in the equation. Yeah. So to me, it's much harder to produce an outstanding wine at a lower price point because you put less resources, right? So with the top wine, you throw all of your resources at it. But this, even at $120, I want to say to everyone who are listening tonight, if you want to put a bottle away for something special in 10 years, this will be my first recommendation across the country to go through. This is a 95 points wine. I am, after now 5 days of digging in and analyzing it, this is my take on this wine. Adnan, you did a tremendous job working that wine for a very unique product.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl. I was a little bit reluctant to send these 2020s to you because we're aging our wines, reds, 24, 25 months in barrel. So all of these 2020 reds that I sent you were bottled in December of like 3-4 months ago. And wines go into bottle shock after bottling. And I can guarantee that these wines just before bottling in the barrels was tasting much better. But after you bottle it, it closes it themselves a little bit. But I think after 6 months, 8 months, or a year, it opens up nicely. And I'm taking these. So in May of this year, in like 2 months from now, we will have a tasting in London, UK, the Canada House tasting. So this will be our third time there. This is happening at the High Commission of Canada at Trafalgar Square. So there will be about, I guess, 30-35 Canadian wineries, not just Ontario, BC, Nova Scotia wineries. And it's not open to public, only the Master of Wines, like Jancis Robinson is like usual.
Yeah.
I'm taking 6 wines there, and all of them are 2020 vintage. I was reluctant again that if they are going to be ready, but later I thought that they're wine professionals like yourself. Like they know wine is bottled recently, and they can understand the potential of wine. So, like, because they do lots of un premier, right, in Bordeaux, like. So
exactly. Like we need to project forward, and that was my job with this, especially this wine, because I would say the Syrah was very generous to me. The Syrah felt opened up. The Syrah felt very welcoming. The Syrah offered me exactly what I wanted to see in it. The Arena, I would say, let's say in between the Syrah and the reserve cap. The arena felt a little close, but still, there was still a little bit more to talk about. But when I opened this reserve red, I was like, oh my God, okay, let's put this one aside and let's work it out through the next couple of days. That will give us the exact story inside of it. So yeah. And you know what? I think we need to send an email to the Canadian Wine Association. We need to get to London to that tasting with Team Canada. I think we would have some good story to bring back to the country, Mira.
Yeah, that's right.
So now I really want to, I'm abusing your time, Adnan. I'm so sorry. And there's something that you had, you talk about it to me, I would say, I think it was in 2021 that you had the plan to become the net zero energy. So you were working towards building the winery. So what's that mean? It means that you are producing as much energy yourself. That's what you're using. Kind of. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, close. Yeah. So net energy means exactly what you say. You produce on your site or on your building equal or more than what you consume, but the production must come from renewable sources like solar, wind. You cannot just burn fossil fuels to generate energy. It doesn't happen that way. And if you read 2 days ago, the United Nations released a new climate report, and and Canada sets a goal that I don't know the timeline, but I think 2030 or so to become net energy zero as a country. So it was on our mind when we designed the winery. We built a like single slope south looking roof. But we were stopped by some regulatory issues from our local hydro company of capacity constraints, etc. Finally, we got the green light, and we're starting a big rooftop solar project that will produce much more energy than we will consume at the winery. And we already do not use any fossil fuels, like no natural gas, nothing. Our heating and cooling system is geothermal. And
Wow.
I Googled, I'm not sure, but I have not seen any winery claim that that's net energy zero in Canada. So
I did the research too, Adnan. There's none. I placed phone calls, I researched, and no, there's none, not one.
if there is one, I admire them, and I'm sorry I misspoken if there is one, but nobody forced us to do this. So we set goal 2023 will be our certified organic net energy zero, and we are also already certified sustainable winery. So these three big goals that will always remind us that we are the stewards of the land that we are working on, not the owners or not the like lords of those lands.
This process, I'm sorry, I don't want to ask you a question, but it must be pretty darn expensive to do that whole process. These things are not free.
No. We're in a year like this, inflation, the interest rates are going. So we are investing almost like $800,000 into these green. This is solar is just one part of that $800,000 investment of this year. We are building a big new geothermal system. It's a third phase go to the winery at 6 a.m. Because we're pouring concrete
Oh, wow.
onto the crash pad, new crash pad, which will have the new geothermal system. And we are putting some unique, not unique. Have you heard about laser bird scaring devices?
Absolutely. Yes, I did heard about that.
Yeah, you know, the usual way of scaring birds is bird cannons, propane cannons.
Propane can, exactly. It's with the big propane tank, right?
Yeah, so that's not very neighbor friendly. Yeah, you feel like you're in a battlefield in the Second World War or third in Niagara. So these laser scaring devices work with solar panels, and they just scare away with a beam of green laser beam. So we are putting a few of them in the vineyard, and we have a few other projects that's going to make Icellars also like respectful to the neighbors and environment.
Fantastic.
Steward of the land, steward of the environment, and wow, it's so refreshing. It's so amazing to hear your story, and even better when you're sipping on the incredible wine. We feel privileged to do what we do. We feel privileged to be associated to what you do. Thank you so very much for your time, for being so generous of your knowledge. Our relationship is really precious. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Definitely. And I want to mention something else. I mean, we had an amazing time visiting your winery. Carl went on his own in the beginning as well. Mike, the average wine enthusiast, is on here, and he's saying he's going to come visit you next Saturday.
Yep. I got his booking, and yeah, we're waiting, and I will be there to host him and to take him. Maybe I will offer some extra wines to him because
I can tell Mike, and Mike came to the Okanagan. We've done some touring together in the Okanagan. We did some touring together in Ontario. I can tell you, Mike, if you're still listening, you're gonna have the experience of your life touring and tasting with Adnan.
What I want to mention with that is that Adnan and Elif have offered something very special. So if you order during this week, they are willing to give a ticket to those that order for their sit-down tasting, which is normally $25 a person. And so if you order up to 300 in wine, it's one ticket, so $25 off your complement of your tasting. And if you order over 300, you get 2 complimentary tickets for tasting. So if you're planning to go to Niagara this summer, this fall, and you were thinking maybe I should order these wines before and, you know, get a tasting pack and see what this winery is all about, now's the time to do it. And then when you go visit, they will take care of you when you're at the winery. It's pretty special.
And hopefully Lulu can come and say hi as well, because she is the cutest winery dog in the country. So Adnan, I know it's late now in the eastern part of the country. You have a big day tomorrow. You have to be at the crush pad by 6 a.m. So please say hi to Elif for us. Thank you very much for your time. And we're planning to be in Niagara sometime late in the summer or early fall. So we'll make sure that we're going to connect with you.
You remember when you came with Mira last time with the kids, and I was driving the tractor, and I was spraying the field, and we barely talked maybe 10 minutes.
I know, hey, but
we had so many things going. We were just there for a short time and totally unannounced, but it was so kind of you to come all the way across the field just to say hi to us. It was great.
Yeah, in summer you generally find me in the vineyard driving tractor or enjoying the vineyard life.
Amazing.
Thank you very much, Adnan. You have yourself a great rest of your night.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
What an amazing story, hey?
I still have like goosebump and like that whole body reaction. It's just amazing. I love the emotion. I love the wines, that is for sure. I
Wow.
love the style, and I love the man. I just love what they do with the passion they do it, and going so so much outside of the regular perimeter to be steward of the land and steward of what they do. So
Yeah, totally.
incredible.
That's exactly it. Outside the regular parameters.
Absolutely.
Outstanding stuff.
Hey,
So,
if we let's get back like for a few seconds. I just want to talk a little bit about the lineup, because what we're offering this week, it's a bottle of the 2018 Chardonnay, a bottle of the 2018 Chardonnay, 2019 Reserve Red,
yes,
right?
which is in the past, it was only available to restaurants. It's kind of like the value packed version of Icellars that you might see on a restaurant list. And he's made this available to us this year. So it's a really great value wine.
A beautiful full body Niagara on the lake, juicy, for $35. So that's the value. The value one. Oh, I forgot the rosé. Yes, the barrel aged rosé that I found that I would love a case of that and blind taste everyone in BC of what's in there. Like, oh my God, I just love that wine. So we have this 91 points, 91 plus, I believe, that I gave it. I just too like so intriguing. I give it 91.
Yeah.
91 also to the Reserve Red, because I really love the value for like the price you pay for what you get. Fantastic. We're moving on to the 29.
The Reserve Red was 91 plus. That's the one you were thinking of.
Okay. Also the Merlot. So we got
Merlot.
the 19 Merlot at 92 points, I believe.
Let's see here, 91 plus for the
91 plus.
We have the 2019 Arena
And the 2020.
and the 2020. So the 2019, you gave it 93 points, and the 2020, you gave it 93 plus points.
So a pair of 93 points Arena. To me, it's a beautiful blend of Merlot. Well, there's a difference between the 19 and the 20, though. But in the 19, it's Merlot, Cab Sauv, and Malbec. When you go to the 2020, you got Merlot, dominant, Merlot, Cab Sauv, Cab Franc, and Malbec. So there's a generous addition of Cabernet Franc in the 2020. And like we've spoke about with Adnan earlier, 2020 gives you a completely different wines. You go from elegance and complexity to power and the generous wine in the 2020. And we have the 94 points Cabernet Sauvignon from the 2018 vintage. Tasting with some winemakers and people from the wine industry on Sunday night, and they were saying that this wine was the wine of the night. Obviously, they never had the chance to taste the Syrah, but for what's on the table, that Cab Sauv, 94 points to my opinion, was the wine of the night, because I really love the complexity of that wine.
Yes. And hey, if we look at our introduction to Icellars, it was during Cabernet Sauvignon Day in 2021, and their Cab Sauv was the best in Canada from that lineup. So really good Cab Sauv. Hey, I have a quick question for you, Carl, from Mike, the average wine enthusiast on YouTube. He says, what could you compare the rosé to? And that's the thing. It's so unique, isn't it, Carl?
I knew someone's going to ask that question, and I don't have an answer for it. I just don't.
Yeah,
I just don't.
Different. It's different. I mean,
every year, especially like, let's say on Rosé Day, we do 25, 30 different rosés. I've tasted hundreds of rosés in the last couple of years from like both sides of the country. I do not have any comp for that. And don't get distracted by the barrel age. It doesn't become that oaky rosé where it's just weird but interesting. No, it's first and foremost, it's neutral oak, so you don't get any oak taste. It's just that beautiful, bright rhubarb cranberry acidity with that generous texture, and that's like that lactose, little milky, creamy thing.
Yeah, there is.
Like it's like if you put a drop of cream to make it like. It's just really hard to explain. There's a light spice at the end, which turns into a little bit of cloves, like that barrel spice, but very discreet. Yeah, there's so much going on. And what took me to that 91 points, it's that incredible potential of aging. The potential of food pairing. That's what I wanted to
not
say.
aging.
But you can age that rosé for a good 5 years. I will keep that for 5 years and see what's coming out. A little bit into their tertiary aromas will become really, really, really interesting. But the food pairing potential is limitless. I remember Rob and Jan threw a bunch of sausage stuffed with cheese and jalapeno.
Yes, and that paired so well
On the barbecue, and the spice was quiet, like dominant. And when we got a sip of that, it tamed the spice of the sausage, the cheese, the melted cheese of the sausage just come and connect with the creaminess of the wine. And it was absolutely incredible. If it was just, this is a 95 points pairing, by the way. Like maybe a 91 point wine, but a 95 points pairing. It was off the chart. Maybe 96. So yeah. So that's about the lineup. It's a very spectacular lineup. I feel like if I'm repeating myself because I was talking the same way with Batchelder. We just featured Thomas Batchelder, but these are so drastically at the opposite of the spectrum from each other, where Thomas working vineyard specific from like small little batch. Adnan is working Icellars vineyard is a Icel vineyard cellar vineyard, but with the power of the most pure oak barrel, and he works his location on Niagara on the lake where it's warm and hot. And so it's just such a sense of place in a certain sense where no one else in the country is producing these style of big and bold wine with oak, and he doesn't apologize to it. Like it's like, no, that's the style, and none of these wines, the oak is out of place. None of it. Nothing is rushed. Everything is at purpose. Everything has purpose. Everything is at the right place, and everything is spectacular.
Amazing.
Well,
Mike, it sounds like you're going to have a heck of a weekend. They're going to go to the Bat Cave on Friday. The Batchelder.
Say hi to Mary for us. Say hi. I think Thomas is going to be back from Provines. Thomas is currently in Germany. I think it was the last day of Provines today in Frankfurt. So, yeah. Oh, my God.
Oh, it makes me want to go out there. Jeez.
Yeah. You know what I want to do right now? I want to go outside here because it was 17 degrees today in the Okanagan. I had the chance to go down south. I tasted wines with Valley Common. It's a new player, a brand new winery here in the Okanagan. They're at the Wine Village. I tasted some really cool and interesting wines from Valley Common. So I had a good trip down to the south of the Okanagan. All of our Maverick fan here, I have 4 new 2022 to taste and rate and do the description to put in our new wine tasting notes library, where Mira has been working around the clock on that, and it's so close to be working, everyone. It is so close to be populate.
Well, there's some people who have access. It's just not yet. Yeah, it's some people are starting to get access. So this is great. As of the last week, it's been trickling out. So this is good.
Yeah. So yeah, that is a little bit our week here. Next week we're having a value. Bin and it's the first time we ever do that. Bin and super special deal. We rarely, very rarely do discount on wines, right? This pretty much ever happened before.
There's probably a couple reasons for that. One is that, let's face it, in Canada, you are getting value, and that is going directly to pay people, living wages. Oh, your wine's gone. You need more.
No, there's no more. You got the last drop.
Oh my gosh, and look at this.
That's us in the house.
No. That was the reserve. I'm going to save it for you because it is so spectacular today. That's the reserve.
You go ahead. This one is for you.
But what were we saying? So yeah, we never encourage wineries to discount their wines because typically the wineries we feature, they will sell out no matter what. And because their wines are really freaking good and they already pack great value. So we try to encourage wineries to give us free shipping if they're going to give us anything, because I think that makes it a lot easier to try out something new on the internet. But yes, what we are doing next week is a first, which is there will be discounts, hefty ones.
Hefty.
On some great wines.
So remember, our winery of the year last year, Ontario winery of the year last year was Bellaterra, formerly Pondview. Well, guess what? There's still some Pondview wines at the winery. We're going to offer the last of the 3 wines from Pondview, the Riesling, the Merlot, and the Reserve Cab Merlot, at a very discounted price, and we're going to offer the last year rosé vintage. So let's kick off the spring because it's 17 degrees here in the Okanagan. We're going to have 3 bottles of rosé and 1 of each of the now no more Pondview, and at a very discounted price. Like it's going to be like there's like a third off. So it's going to be pretty cool.
So here's the other thing I wanted to mention about discounts is we usually get suspicious when we see wineries discounting their wines because we think, what's going on? Why are they discounting their wine, right?
That's it. But we have enough experience with Bellaterra that was the easiest thing to do. It's to go forward with that. There was no suspicion at all because we know the wines are great. They just want to move on completely to the Bellaterra brand.
They don't want to have to rebrand all these wines that have already been labeled, and they have a new name now. But it's the same winemaker, the same vineyards.
Absolutely.
Owner, like everything's been the same for the last, 30 plus years.
But yeah, exactly, right? So the farm, the everything. So yeah, so we're going to offer you guys, because we understand that was Batchelder, it was Icellars. These wines are expensive. So now we're going to help you to fill up with value wines, with everyday pizza wine. So we're here for you.
Barbecues coming up.
Barbecues and all of that. So by the way, Mira, do you have the picture of Richard with the two Count Franc?
Yeah, I can get it in a second. That is a great picture. So our winery of Members' Choice Winery of the Year, right? Last year, this year, our new Members' Choice Winery, right?
Yeah.
Is
Sue and staff for Ontario, and Da Silva Vineyards and Winery from BC. So now Sue-Ann is out in Germany at Provine, but her flagship wine is the Chestnut Tree Cabernet Franc. Yesterday, I was doing some work with Richard Da Silva at Da Silva Winery, and I brought a bottle of the Chestnut Tree with me. And guess what Richard did? He cracked open a bottle of his single vineyard Avila vineyard Cabernet Franc from the same vineyard, from the same vintage. So we have two 2018 Cabernet Franc from the same vintage, same price point across the country. It was absolutely fantastic to do.
Really cool. Yeah. Really cool.
Really, really, really cool.
And so speaking of that, we have one of the most unique projects ever in Canadian wine history coming up, where we have a winery from BC and a winery from Ontario collaborating on one wine, where they will send grapes from BC over to Ontario. They will blend them together, and it will be a fabulous, fabulous wine, I'm sure, because these are both two of our member favorite wineries, our winery of the year last year, Member's Choice. So
that's how the relationship has evolved. So strong that now we're making a pan-Canadian wines. Like, it's going to be so freaking fantastic to move forward.
Yeah, so more news on that and the Canadian Wine Challenge, where we're going on tour. We're coming to a city or a restaurant or a place near you. We're going to be across the country. We might even stop in Trois-Rivières, we just heard today, because we have members there, and we might come over there and do a tasting there. So we are going to take this Canadian Wine Challenge across the country so that people can taste Canadian wines coast to coast. That's the goal of these events. You can sit down with other wine lovers and taste like a coast to coast selection of wines and hear Carl talk about them. And we'll get to know each other in person. It'll be lots of fun.
There you go. You know what? That was a great hour and a half.
Holy cow. I can't believe it's been an hour and a half. I'm glad we let Adnan go early.
I have a nice, yeah, exactly. Nice little video that we're going to post about my tasting between the Chestnut Tree, Siouan Cab Franc, and the Silva Cab Franc. We're going to post that. I have some stuff to talk about these two wines, yeah. Also the two Arena from Icellars.
Yes.
But yeah, if you're looking for something special this week, you get that these Iceller wines are special. So here we are. That was our Wednesday wine happy hour. Thank you very much, Mira Boucher. It was awesome. Thank you very much. So Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, cheers.
Cheers.
Chat with you soon.